Alright guys, it's Saturday morning and I'm going to go ahead and take my measurements and weigh myself and see what progress I made during the first week on the Anaerobixx diet. Real quick about weighing yourself and measuring yourself, it's really important that you have standard measurements, okay? So I say the same day of the week, okay? Definitely not after a cheat day, definitely not in the evening, do it in the mornings, because all of these things are going to affect the way you measure your progress, how accurate your measurement of your progress is. Obviously, if I weigh myself one day and then weigh myself 3 days later and then weigh myself 7 days later, I'm not going to get an accurate measure of my progress. The same thing is if I measure myself Saturday morning before I eat or drink anything, and then the next Saturday evening after I've been eating and drinking all day, especially if I had a cheat day, you're still not going to have the same, the most accurate results. So do it under the same conditions. For me, it's Saturday morning after I have urinated and or defecated, before I have eaten or drunk anything, and that's when I go ahead and take my measurements. And another thing I want to say is, when you do your measurements and when you take your weight, make sure that they're at the absolute same standard.
Alright, weighing yourself, obviously it's important, like I said, urinate and or defecate before you do this. Do not drink or eat anything, and make sure that you're naked, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get a like a standard measurement. Last week I weighed, let me see, last week I weighed 187.4, so let's see what's going on this week. $183.6.
Alright, so basically, like I said, I make the measurements, the same parts of my body at the same time every week. We're going to start with the waist. First of all, it's really important, and this is something I've learned in the Army, if you're wearing, like, people used to wear like spandex underneath their PT clothes, and it would push in their fat, which would force their fat out. So to get a accurate measurement of your waist, first of all, make sure it's something loose, and second, drop it down a little bit so it doesn't actually, change your waist measurement. And what I do is I keep this as parallel to the ground as I can, and I center it on my navel. So every week that I do this, it's in the exact same place. And today we're looking at about 34.5. Okay, for the chest, you want to make sure that when you're doing this, you're flexing, you're tensing your chest and your back, okay, because this is not just a measurement of your chest, it's also a measurement of what your back development's doing, and also the fat deposits, of course, on your back. And what I do is, once again, I make sure that I keep the tape parallel to the ground, and I bring it across my nipples, so I know that it's in the exact same place every single week. So we're looking at about a 34 3/4. Alright, in terms of biceps, bend your arm 90 degrees, okay? And what I do is I make sure that the tape, okay, is perpendicular, it's at a right angle to my arm, and I just put it in at the widest possible. So as long as it's perpendicular to my arm, I just set it up so that it's at the widest possible. And right now it looks like I've got about just over 15.5 inches. Okay, hit the other side. Surprisingly, even though I'm left-handed, my left arm is usually smaller than my right arm. And once again, this is the case. I've got about 15 3/8, whereas I had 15 5/8 on the other side. Okay, for your thigh. What I do with my thigh is I straighten my leg, tense my muscles, and I just find the widest point. So the greatest measurement that I could find. Looks like I lost a little bit here. I'm on 23.5. Left is 23.5. Alright, to measure your calves, there are two ways, of course, to flex your calves. You could just, to really flex them, you should bend your foot at the ankle. But for these purposes, the only thing that's important is that they're uniform. So I keep my leg straight at the knee, I keep my foot flat on the floor, and I just tense them a little bit like this. And that's how I measure my calves. 16.25 on the right side. A little bit over 16 3/8 on the left side. Alright, so to measure the forearms, I bend my elbow 90 degrees and just measure along the greatest point, as long as the tape is 90 degrees. So I got 13.5 on the right side. It's about 12.75 on, no it isn't. It's about 12.75 on the left side. And the neck measurement, this one honestly, it's really best to do this in front of a mirror because it's really hard to see. And once again, I basically just put the tape at whatever the greatest measurement is for my neck. So what have you got there?
16.5.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and compare them to last week's measurements and see how I measure up. Alright, so here are the results after 1 week on the Anaerobixx diet. A little bit less because, like I said, I really didn't start doing the extreme version of the Anaerobixx diet until Tuesday, and my last measurements were taken Saturday. So this is only the results really from like Tuesday through Saturday. I went from 187.4 to 183.6 pounds. That means I lost 3.8 pounds, so almost 4 pounds, over 3.5 pounds in a week. My waist went from 35.25 to 34.5, so that's a 3/4 inch drop on my waist measurement. And my chest went from 44 to 43.75, so that's like a 1/4 inch I lost around my chest. But you need to understand, you know, you have a lot of fat deposits on like your back, your lats. So when you burn off fat, you're not just burning your fat around here, you're also burning it around, around your upper body as well. And just about everything else stayed the same. There might have been plus or minus like 1/8 of an inch, but that's basically just like maybe an error in the way I measured, the difference in the way I measured every day, even though I get as exact as possible. The only real difference that I had was last week both thighs were 24 inches, and this week they're both 23.5. So it appears I lost like 1/2 inch off my thighs. But once again, like the lats, the thighs are also a place where you store a lot of fat. So if you lose fat, you're obviously going to lose just like size, mass. but I can notice that my thighs are getting more muscular as well. So I'm fairly happy with the results, and I'm going to continue, like I said, this extreme version of the anaerobics diet. Carbs with protein before and after I work out, and then pretty lean protein with minimal fat for the rest of the day. I'm going to see how it goes. This week was fine. Next week I'd like to stay on the same diet. If I start to have problems, like I said, losing strength in the gym, it's just not feeling like I'm getting enough calories, then I'm going to start slowly upping my calories by adding fat to the protein meals. So instead of just eating chicken breast, I'll, like I said, throw in some almonds or whatever to that. So I'll slowly build up the total calories and the fat that I eat every day. So since today's a rest day, one question that gets asked a lot is, what's your nutrition on your rest days? Do you do you cut down your calories, or do you cut down your carbs, or do you, change anything on your rest days? I'm cutting it real close because I'm going low calorie, low carb, low fat, and I don't want to cut it down any lower. So I'm still going to have my pre and post workout meals on my rest days, Saturday and Sunday. I'm just not going to use, I'm just going to use them as normal meals, okay? So even though I'm not working out, I still get my pre and post workout meals. Definitely, even if you do cut out one of your post workout meals, if you're taking creatine, make sure you take it every single day. Just put it in your KSN at night or whatever. But like I said, in general, right now, yeah, I'm going to keep my my macros and my calories constant through the whole week, whether I'm working out or not.